If your business isn't on Google, it's invisible and may as well not exist. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a Google business profile so that you can be found within Google Search and within Google Maps and turn near me searches into real paying customers. We'll cover everything from setting up the listing to making sure all your services and all the information on the listing is covered, and I'll share with you a little tip that will boost your profile's visibility. If all this sounds good to you, let's jump in. Right, the first thing we're going to want to do is head on over to Google Business Profile. Click the top link from doing a Google search for this, and this should take you through to business.google.com. Yours should look something similar to this. This is essentially a page that tells you all about what a Google Business Profile is, what can be put on there, all that sort of stuff. We're going to want to head up to the top. We can click either sign in or start now. They should both take us to the same place. I'm going to click start now. I'm already logged in, so it takes me to the first step. Now, this is going to ask you your business name. So in here, you're going to want to make sure you enter this as your business name is everywhere else. So in this case, I'm going to set this up for Fast Track Plumbers. No capitals, no lowercase, all lowercase, no limited or any other mentions on there. You don't want to put keywords in here. This has to be just your business name. You cannot put Fast Track Plumbers #1 plumbers. You cannot put Fast Track Plumbers 24-hour call outs, anything like that. That is in clear violation of Google's policies. It has to just be your standard Google business name for the Google business profile. Next, they're going to ask you what type of business you operate. Now, this is very important, and I have to stress this. You have to make sure you choose the right option here. This is a big part of how well you're going to be found within local search, and they've recently added in the option of choosing online retail. Prior to this being added, if you owned an e-commerce website or a website where you sold products, you couldn't have a Google business profile listing. You could only have it if you had a physical store, like a brick and mortar store, or you operated from a home address carrying out your service at someone's premises, like a plumber or an electrician. So online retail is going to be if you sell products through your website. So you've got an e-commerce store, something like that, but you don't have a physical location where people can come to buy the products. Local store, that's going to be your typical brick and mortar store where people can come along, buy your products, or talk to you about your services, where they can physically turn up to the location and speak to someone. Service business is going to be for everyone that operates from a home address or have a registered business address where they don't actually operate from, where they don't see customers at that location, but they go out to the customer's location to carry out the service. Think locksmiths, electricians, plumbers, people like that. In the case of what we're setting up for Fast Track Plumbers, we're going to choose service business in here and click next. Now it's going to ask you for your business category. Again, this is a very important part of the listing. However, it can be changed later, so don't stress too much if you put the wrong thing in here. You want to make sure that this matches up with what your main competitors have and what the main businesses have who you're coming up against in local search. Now, in this case, I'm going to look in here and search for plumber, and I've got the option in here for plumber. You need to find the most relevant listing category possible. You can add additional ones to these later on, and here you get a little prompt there, so you can change this or add more later. However, I must stress this is a very important part of setting up the listing. Getting this right can be the difference between you being found and getting business, or not being found at all. Going through now, because I chose the service area, and sometimes you'll still get this option as well if you choose a brick and mortar store, depending on what comes up. In this case, I'm just going to put London in here and choose London, UK. I could also add additional areas if I wanted to, so I could add in West Midlands in there as well to say I service both those areas, and then click next. What this is now going to bring up is asking for a website if you have one, and also a phone number. Now, these are very important. Google will want to do the verification usually through one of these methods. Sometimes they'll also use the address that you give it. However, in this case, I'm going to pop these in here and then go through to the next step. So putting your business on a map, here you'll be asked to check some options in here. I would leave these both blank. You don't want Google to be contacting you about your business profile or sending you any surveys, so I would just leave these and continue through to the next step. What it's now going to ask you to do is ask you for the mailing address for the business. Now, if you've chosen that you're a service area business, don't worry, this address won't be shown on the listing. It will be hidden from the public. No one is going to see your home address or turn up at your home address. So I'm simply going to fill this out with the address for Fast Track, and then put in the postcode, and then I'm going to hit next. And this is where you're now going to get the option to do your verification. So I've been given a few options in here. I can do a phone code verification. This is where a text or a voice call gets sent through to the phone. You pick up the call, it gives you a code that you enter into the page, and then you're fully verified. I have the option for an email code. Now, this is a code sent to an email address, and the email address, and I must stress this, has to match the domain that you've entered for your business. So if you've got a Gmail address, a Yahoo address, something along those lines that you use, but don't have an official business email address, you can't use this option. It just won't work. Business video, you want to try and avoid at all costs. This is something that Google are trying to push people to a lot more recently. However, there's a lot of issues that can come with this. It has to be a live video, so you can't pre-record it. It has to be done through the Google Business Profile Manager. On a video, you have to show street signs, you have to show shops in the area, you have to show you entering the premises, showing ownership of the premises through some form of documentation, and show you opening and unlocking the door to the premises. So we would usually say that this is a bit of a no-go. We want to stay away from this as far as possible, because Google reject these a lot of the time. In my experience, running this for over 150 businesses, it gets blocked majority of the time. So we want to go for one of the options where we know we can get this. So in this case, I'm going to go for phone code, and then in here I'm going to get the option to choose text message or a call. So I'm just going to go with text message and hit next. What's now going to happen is the number that I've entered, Google are going to send a text message through with a 6-digit code. This is usually almost instantaneous and comes through right away. So I've got this now, so I'm just going to enter this. Just like so, and then if you didn't get the code come through, you can request it again after the timer times out. I'm just going to hit verify in that. All done. It says I'm being verified by Google. Now it says this can take up to 5 days. Usually it's a lot quicker. Sometimes you can have it where it only takes an hour. Sometimes it's almost instant and the listing will be there straight away. But you just need to wait. There's no getting around this, unfortunately. Hit next. Here you get to add some services. As we selected the primary category as plumber, Google will give you some options in here that you can choose from. You can create your own and add custom services if you want to. However, I would say for majority of listings, stick with the ones that Google give you as an option. These will be the most commonly used ones. These will be phrases that they know people search for, and these can appear on your listing to say we offer this as a service. So these are all already selected, but we're going to deselect things like toilet repair and toilet installation, because we're just trying to avoid those with this, and water heater installation. But we're also going to add in here 24/7 call out. Hit next. It's now going to ask us to add business hours. So we're going to tick all the ones that are relevant for our store or our business, and we're going to choose what options we have in here. So you need to make sure that these match the hours of operation that are on the website for the business, but also you need to make sure it matches any citations that you have on local business directories. Think Yelp, Trust a Trader, Check a Trader, all these sorts of things where your business is mentioned. You need to make sure that the business operating hours are exactly the same as what you have on those. So in this case, this is a 24/7 emergency plumber. We're open 24 hours a day across the week, 7 days a week. Now we're going to need to enter a business description. This is limited to 750 characters. Here you want to make sure that you are including everything that you need for your business. You want to make sure it's keyword rich but not overstuffed with keywords around your business, to make sure that you can get the most out of having this. So here's one that I added earlier. This covers fast track plumbers. It mentions keywords in there around emergency plumbers 24/7. It's mentioning the areas that we operate, so London, West Midlands. and then it's just got a bit of a description about what the business is, what they do, and it's just shy of that 750 character limit. That's what you want to aim for. You can always use the likes of ChatGPT to help you write something like this, but just make sure you don't overstuff it with keywords that just don't need to be there. You want to make sure this explains your business to the end consumer. Now you're going to get the option to upload some photos of a storefront if you have one. So if you don't and you're operating from your own business, you're going to want to skip this. This can help people find your business if you do have a physical store location. However, in my case, with this being a service area business, I'm just going to hit skip on this. What you do want to do though, you want to make sure you fill out this section as much as possible. So photos, don't use any stock photos, don't go to Adobe Stock, don't go to any of these free stock photo websites, and definitely don't pull any images just off Google. This needs to be 100% authentic photos of your business, of people working that you've taken yourself or that members of your staff and team have taken, that can be used in here. I'm going to just drag an image into here that's off the Fast Track Plumbers website that we know we can use, but we do want to make sure we're using official images and not images that are stock photos that we're just repurposing that other people may have used. And we want to fill this out and make this as comprehensive as possible, and going forwards this is something we want to keep updated. You may or may not get an option in here to claim some advertising credit. That's completely up to you if you want to claim your credit and use it for your business. In this case I'm just going to skip it for now, but this may be something we cover in a later video. Google are going to push you to try and say that they can offer some of their Google Cloud storage and Google Cloud services for your business. And they're going to try and offer you into a trial for this, of which then becomes paid. Most likely you already have your email and all that sort of stuff sorted for the business. So again, with anything like this, we just hit skip. And then we're at the final part where Google say the edits were visible once we're verified. We did the phone call verification earlier, so now we just have to wait for the business to be fully verified and vetted by Google, which can take up to 5 days. And then the listing will be perfectly visible here with all our information. One thing we want to do while we're waiting for that to happen is we want to click into edit profile and make sure that all of the information in here is as filled out as possible. So things like social profiles, we want to click into here. We've got Facebook, if we've got TikTok, if we've got Instagram, LinkedIn, we want to make sure these are added into here. These are great signals for Google to be able to see your business on other platforms and put two and two together, and also drive people to those platforms from your business profile. Coming down here, we want to make sure we add in special hours. So this can be things for public holidays, so bank holidays, opening hours for religious holidays, so maybe Christmas, Easter, things like that. And we want to make sure we add in the specific dates and what the opening times are for that date, just to make sure no one ends up trying to call or visit the place that's listed at a time when no one's going to be there and there's no one to service them, which could relate to a negative review. Now there's some more options that you can add down here. So if you do specific hours for specific services, in this case if you were a restaurant and you're open from 6 o'clock at night till midnight, but in the daytime you offer takeaway, you can tick takeaway and then choose what days and times you offer takeaway, regardless of what the main business opening hours are. This can be particularly good to make sure, again, you're not getting any negative reviews for certain things that you offer. We also get some more options in here. So again, you can add some stuff in here. So if you're women owned, sometimes you get options in here around being LGBTQ friendly, the sort of crowd that's in here. There you go. So LGBTQ friendly, yes or no. What payments you accept there. So do you accept cash? Is it credit cards? What credit cards do you accept? Amex, China Union Pay, Diners Club, MasterCard, Visa, things like that. We want to make sure this is as filled out as possible to ensure that your business gets found within Google. Now, the final thing that we're going to want to make sure that we add to your listing, and this is something that's really going to boost your performance, is clicking into edit services. Now, you're going to have all your services in here. These are what we pre-selected earlier, but we want to come in and click into here where we can actually see more options that they're going to give us. We can also still add additional custom ones, but also we want to add another business category. In this case, you can add in anything you want. So if you also operated not just as a plumber, but you also were a plumber's merchant, so you sold products onto other people, you can add that in there as a secondary category, so that you have more chance of being shown. Google weight primary categories way more than they do secondary categories, so it's key to make sure that you put the correct information in here and that you have the correct category listed as your primary. Sometimes just switching your secondary category to your primary category can skyrocket the business and be the difference between the phone ringing or it not ringing. We do have other things in here as well that are worthwhile adding. You can edit products. Now we use this in a way to show services that we offer. So in here we offer plumbing services, what a rough price is. You don't have to add that, a description of the service, a photo of someone carrying out that service or that product, and a link through to that product on the website. These then get featured within the listing, and they look great. They're really good for driving people through to the website for the specific service that you're mentioning within these. Now, if you follow all these steps, you'll end up with a very complete Google business profile, but that isn't necessarily the end. There's a lot more optimizations that can be done with these listings, and there's a lot of stuff that can be done to boost performance. If you're looking to grow your business performance on the Google Business Profile platform and really take your local SEO to the next level and don't want to commit to agency fees, you want to check out ditchyouragency.io. There we have a course all on your Google Business Profile, how to set it up, how to fully optimize it to make sure you're being found for all the terms that people are searching for, and how to really skyrocket your business and get the work that you deserve. So go and check that out on ditchyouragency.io.